Good morning, this is Joe White. If you watch the podcast with any regularity, you know I do property management here in Philadelphia. And one of the things a property management person does is a final walkthrough inspection when a tenant moves out. Now it's July 1st and happy July 4th to everybody watching. This one ended on a pretty nice note here. Let me see if you guys can see the skyline. Rainy, overcast day. But we could actually have worse views. And over here we're getting some better views of Philadelphia. So kind of ended on a positive note. However, when we actually kind of get into the property, I don't know if you can see this red staining. I believe this red staining is actually paint and that the tenants had some kind of mishap because it actually goes through the entire house. So when we open up this deck door, you're going to see right away that whatever the tenants had going on, they got it into the home. And it actually goes through the entire house. I believe it must be a paint. And I don't know what the result of this is going to end up being. I don't know how we're going to get the paint off of these floors because, to be honest, these floors are not the highest quality. You can see it. Oh, geez, it's coming right up. Looks like some kind of rust then. Maybe they actually dragged flower pots or something out. Maybe they'll actually clean up kind of quickly. So basically what I want to talk about is what is normal wear and tear and what is excessive wear and tear. And so we're not allowed to charge the tenant for anything that would be normal wear and tear. What normally would occur when you use a property. So if you're a tenant that's staying there for a year, what's the normal wear and tear a tenant would put on a home in a year? The tenant stays for 3 years, what is the normal wear and tear that the tenant would put for 3 years? Now, I kind of define normal wear and tear in and it really is subject to the individual's opinion. I mean, it is and it's not. And if you're standing in front of a real estate judge, it's going to be subject to his opinion. But I define normal wear and tear as we allowed like nail holes if someone were to hang art. I'm pretty lenient in stairwells. So right now I'm actually in a stairwell. So with smudges that would be on a wall, let's see if I can pull some smudges up. So here we have some smudges on the wall. I would probably define this as normal wear and tear. So since this would be normal wear and tear, I wouldn't tend to charge the tenants for that. Now, if these smudges were on a bedroom wall, I might see it a little bit differently. But these, to me, would be normal wear and tear. So we can't charge the tenant for this since I'm defining it as normal wear and tear. But the landlord will be covered because I don't know if you can see down here, we actually have this is not normal wear and tear. This is excessive wear and tear. So when I have to pay a contractor to come in here to fix these walls, to make this property new again and get a tenant ready, contractors are really expensive to get in your door. And they're expensive to open up a can of paint and to stir the paint and to get ready. But to be honest, by the time they get done fixing this situation, my having to pay them to touch up this situation is you're really talking about pennies. So if the tenants left this property in near pristine condition with just some mild smudges here and there, then I would recommend to the landlord that out of their pocket, they should actually pay to have the walls touched up. That is not really a tenant expense. We can't charge the tenant for that. So it's kind of good news for the owners in the fact that we actually do get to charge the tenants for the excessive wear and tear because then it's going to help to cover the expenses of just a quick touch up here and there. So let's walk through the property. Now, in Philadelphia, probably actually in a lot of areas, we have 30 days to get the tenant their security deposit back. And we have to give them a final disposition letter. And that final disposition letter is to be extremely detailed. So we can't just tell the tenant we're keeping your security deposit or we're keeping $500 of your security deposit. We have to tell them specifically what. We have to say that we're keeping $225 to have the property cleaned. And even better would be if you had photos to support that. So we do take photos. So we actually have property management software and we take photos as we go. And that also helps when we actually hand these photos over to the tenants. We do so as a collage. So these photos kind of come in, basically it's just a collage of their filth. And few tenants actually really argue at that point when we send this over to them. Again, it's better than putting it in writing. A picture, is worth 1,000 words. So we have 30 days to get them the final disposition letter, and we have to outline exactly what we're charging them for. Now we don't actually have to charge them. We don't have to charge them actual cost. So we have to charge them reasonable cost. So how much would it cost reasonably for us to have this property professionally cleaned, which it obviously needs? And we're allowed to charge that. Now, if you as the landlord decide, well, I want to clean the property myself, or I have a tenant that wants to move in and they don't care, they're just so anxious to get in there, they don't care if it's clean or not, and they just tell you, hey, don't bother cleaning it, we just want it today, we just want it today. Well, you don't have to get it professionally cleaned, and you still get the compensated from the exiting tenant as you deserve, because they devalued your property. The same thing would if the tenants were to damage your 200-year-old oak flooring with beautiful mahogany trim. If they somehow put a scratch in that, you need to be compensated for that. They devalued your property. Now, you might not want to go ahead and fix these scratches. It might just be too near impossible to fix 200-year-old oak flooring that has scratches in it. And in that scenario, you would probably tend to keep the money, and your floors are still going to look great, just that much less great than this. So another thing is sitting here. Let me pull this up. Hopefully you guys can see how filthy this fan is. Now the tenants left this property, and that's a little bit disrespectful. That's certainly not the way I would leave a property. It's not even the way I would have left a property when I was in college. And they also put it looks like they must have hung some lights all the way around, and in peeling the lights off, they ripped the paint right off of the walls. So now, their behavior, and again, remember, this is a new property when we gave it, their behavior is fairly disrespectful. They certainly didn't care for this property. That doesn't mean we actually get to charge them for being jerks. We don't get to punish them with the security deposit. So all we can charge them for, say, this filthy fan that's here, is the reasonable cost to clean it. So if the tenants were to leave a bag of garbage in the basement, as these tenants actually did, and things of that nature, we can't charge them for being jerks. We can't charge them for being disrespectful. We can only charge them the cost of what it will cost us to have that bag of garbage taken out to the curb. All right, let's kind of walk through and take a look. Now, we're also not allowed to charge the tenants for any replacement cost. So if they damage our floor, let's an example, as we're actually going to see down here all the way in the basement, we can't actually charge them to replace the floor. What we can charge them for is the cost of the flooring minus depreciation. So we basically can determine what, okay, let's pull up this floor here. What is the average life expectancy of this flooring? And then we would divide that by the value of the flooring. We'd divide that by the life expectancy, and then we would charge the tenant for that. So apparently what they did here is they must have been using the fridge, letting the water drip down for some reason, and water damaged the floor. So we're not going to be able to charge these tenants for the full flooring repair. I'm not really sure what the resolve on that is, but we would be able to charge them for the value of the floor minus the depreciation. So those are just some thoughts that I actually want to leave you with. I guess I'll end it there, and happy real estate investing.